morning. Thank you all. This is the October meeting of the Mount Airy Planning Commission. I will, I'm going to give about, I'll call the meeting to order, and we will rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can everybody make sure that they're not speaking, that they have their microphone muted?
Next on the agenda is the approval of the minutes of the September 28th meeting. Are there any additions or corrections?
Roxanne, I don't see any additions or corrections that are needed. I'll go ahead and move to approve the minutes.
It's been moved. Is there a second? There's a second. It's been moved and seconded. We approve the minutes of our October.
Scott second.
Scott seconded. It's been moved and seconded that we approve the April 28th meetings. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Those opposed? Motion carries. Minutes are approved.
Hey, Roxanne.
Yes.
So the next one is citizens' comments. Now, we do have 5 attendees currently. So if one of those want to speak on something that isn't on the agenda, if they would raise their hand, I could allow them to speak at this time. And I don't see anybody raising their hand, so I think we should continue on.
Okay, I'm assuming that all of those want to comment on something that we are going to be doing in the future at the meeting.
All these people currently are the ones that have been interested in the Harrison-Lazier annexation.
Okay.
I don't think they have any comments right now. I'm still not seeing any hands being raised. So I think we'll go ahead and move on to the next item.
If they're having trouble and don't know how to raise their hand, they can also chat down in the Zoom chat if that's a problem.
And I don't see anybody chatting currently.
Okay. Next is our Carroll and Frederick County planners. First, we'll hear from Hannah. Are you, Hannah? I saw your, yeah, there you are.
Hi,
Welcome.
everybody.
Hi.
So as you guys know, we're doing the commercial industrial employment campus rezonings. This Thursday, we have our listening session with the Board of County Commissioners at 7 p.m. This is strictly for public comment, and we've had quite a few people sign up to speak about the employment campus adjacent to Mount Airy. I believe John Breeding has signed up to speak. Up next, we have the work session where the Board of County Commissioners will actually be discussing the employment campus. That will be on November 24th. I believe it's a Tuesday at 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. And this is where they'll be discussing their comments and things like that. Next, we are moving on to the residential by request rezonings. There are 2 requests right now. They are located in the Freedom area. And next we have the residential text revisions, and they have we have a webinar that'll be on November 18th if anybody would like to join or has questions about that.
Okay, I see where you, there's a request for rezoning of almost 600 acres in the county. For, I don't know how much acreage, but 4 of those are employment campus requests, correct?
I'm not sure the exact acreage.
Yep.
Of all
Yeah,
the employment
no, I'm not,
campuses.
I don't,
No,
yeah.
it's
no,
600 plus.
Yeah, it said over 600 plus.
Yep.
Okay, does anyone have any questions? Yes, Pam?
Hannah, the public comments being heard on Thursday at 7 p.m. and the work session on 11/24, is that for Harrison-Lazier or Lot 20?
That is for parcel 20.
Okay.
Yeah, they won't hear anything on Harrison-Lazier because it's coming into the town.
Correct. And the public is still able to submit comments on carrollrezoning.org, and you are still able to sign up to speak on Thursday's listening session until Thursday afternoon, if you still haven't had time to sign up yet.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so Hannah, this is Bill Butts. I've got a question. We're charged by the state to update and upgrade our master plans, be they municipal or county, at least at a minimum of every 10 years. This seems like a comprehensive proposal for a county-wide rezoning. I think it's 25 plus properties. It's 600 plus acres. There's at least 4 of those that are employment campus zoned, one of which is contiguous and totally adjacent to Mount Airy, and our town border, and so that's of some concern to us, especially since we have some planning in place to do an office park employment campus rezoning. Well, it's already been done, but for Harrison Lashir. So is it the county's practice to do this kind of large recommendation for rezoning in advance of every 8 to 10 years when you upgrade the county master plan?
This is part of the comprehensive rezoning.
Okay. All right. That's
Yep,
what I
this is
thought.
the
Just want to be
five-request
sure.
phase. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Any other commission members have a question, or anyone else have a question? Okay, moving on, we have Tim Goodfellow, our Frederick County planner, here this evening. Welcome, Tim. He is going to give us a small presentation, an update.
Okay, I'm sorry. Tim, can you give me 1 second? I'm having a problem getting the Facebook up and running, so I do apologize. People who are having problems getting to Facebook, they can also stream it on CMC's Facebook account. So if they go to CMC, they can view it that way. They won't be able to chat through the Facebook, but I am working on trying to get the town's Facebook up and live running. I do apologize.
I did see Gina real quick. I just saw her face. I don't know where she went.
Yeah.
Oh, there she. Oh, she's Town of Mount Airy over there in the corner. Okay.
Having trouble, John?
Thank you. John, can Tim is available to share the screen if he wants to?
Okay. Good evening, Planning Commission members. I do have a short presentation to make this evening. It's just basically an update on development projects and other activities in the eastern part of Frederick County. So let me do the screen share. So bear with me for one moment. Let's see. All right. Okay, is that clear to everybody? Okay, so I'll be just talking about, as I mentioned, the eastern portion of the county, just some larger projects, and touch very, very briefly on 2 plans that the county is working on right now. So I'll start, so this, I'll do some identifiers. So this is Interstate 70 and 144, they're parallel. Can you see the cursor on the screen?
Mm-hmm. Yes, okay. We can.
So the green outline is the town of Newmarket. They've had approval. This was an annexation from several years ago, a fairly large subdivision, 925 lots. They have subdivision approval. They've not moved to the construction phase. That's along Boyers Mill Road here. This other site at Mussetter Road in 144, that had a Rutter's convenience store with 20 gasoline pumps proposed. And it took a kind of a strange course over our hearing processes. There were 2 tie votes. So they ended up getting essentially no approvals for that site plan. So where this was proposed for a large convenience store and gas station, it's no longer approved, or it was never approved.
Okay, Tim, before you go on, I want to remind everyone to please mic yourself. We're getting a little bit of background noise here. And also, I've just been informed by CMC that they are live streaming on YouTube tonight only. Okay,
It
go
looks
ahead.
like we are streaming live on our town webpage now.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so I'll move on here. So there's a lot of stuff here. So again, the general Newmarket area, it's slightly, you can see the town of Newmarket border here. We're a little bit west of Newmarket. So I mentioned some of these things a while ago, but along 144 here by the traffic circle into Lake Linganore, there's a commercial subdivision down here. There's been a site plan approved for a Goddard school. You can see the notation there. And a 7-Eleven and gas station right at the traffic circle there on the south side of 144. A little bit further to the west is a Valley School that had approval last year. And just for reference, this is the Oakdale High School, and these are the platted lots that are in the Linganore Town Center. The Linganore Town Center does expand to the west side here of Eagle Head Drive. Now, we've had a recent rezoning in this part of the county. The Cromwell rezoning was just approved last month for 600 age-restricted units. And then down here at the intersection of 144 and Meadow Road and I-70 was part of the same overall rezoning package. This was had zoning for MXD, which is our mixed use development zone. So that's proposed for employment uses at some point in the future. People are probably aware, traveling the highways in your area, in our area, the westbound interchange at I-70 at Meadow Road has been open since the fall. And you may have seen a large pile of dirt heading eastbound on Interstate 70. That's the new, which will be a new ramp heading eastbound on Meadow Road area. That's under construction right now. This is the northern portion of Lake Linganore. This is Gas House Pike. It's not labeled well here, but where my cursor is. The area north of Gas House Pike here, just north of the West Winds Golf Course, is called Hamptons East. They had rezoning approval back in 2013, but no subdivision plans have been submitted. Their rezoning did approve a maximum of 435 units here, but they've not proceeded with subdivision yet. This section here, Hamptons West, they are under development. The area where my cursor is are the lots that have been platted. I don't exactly know how many lots have been, how many permits have been issued for residential development there, but you can see the extent right now of the subdivision lots. And that's the breakdown between single family, detached units, and townhome units. And also under construction right next to that is the Blue Heron Elementary School. It'll be opening for the fall of 2021 year, and it's a capacity of 705 students. That's pre-K, pre-kindergarten to 5th grade. Then adjacent to that is a fire station site. And that does not have any approvals yet. The county's not proceeded with developing that fire station at this point yet. Moving to Urbana, this is Route 80 heading into Urbana. This is 270 here. This is the Urbana High School, Urbana Middle School. And you've probably seen also, if you travel to Urbana on Route 80, the YMCA under construction. That'll have a swimming pool, a large facility, and a medical office building in the front that will be fronting Route 80. And the YMCA is set back a little bit, but it'll have a roadway connection to the middle school and certainly pedestrian connections from the high school and the middle school to the YMCA facility. That was they're having a swimming pool there. The county basically funded the majority of that swimming pool. So it'll be like a quasi-public pool and not just for YMCA members. So that's a nice amenity for the community. And then, so Livable Frederick, this is our master plan adopted in 2019, and we have talked about that with the commission over the years. And there are 2 plans underway now for implementation of our large policy document. One is the Sugarloaf Area Plan. And I have briefed the Town Planning Commission on that in the past. Work continues on the Sugarloaf Plan. We do have an advisory group. The plan is nearing completion for public release of the staff draft. So I'd be glad to come back and have a more in-depth presentation about all the components and details of the Sugarloaf Area Plan if you'd like that in the future. One interesting new thing that we're doing for the Sugarloaf Plan, I think it'll be also part of the other plan I'll mention, is an overlay zone. So besides the standard zoning changes and comprehensive plan changes that you're familiar with, this particular plan will also have a new overlay zone. Through the legislative process, but in tandem, in concert with the approval of this plan. As you know, Sugarloaf is a very, very unique, sensitive area, significant resources down in the southern part of Frederick County. We do have certainly a project website, which I did not list on here, but if you just type in Sugarloaf Area Plan, you'll go right to the website, which will give some history and background and other documents. The next plan that has very recently kicked off is the South Frederick Corridors Plan. Also, there's a briefing book like there is for the Sugarloaf Plan. There is a focus group already formed for this. And this it will be a very different plan than Sugarloaf. As you can see in the image there on the cover of the briefing book, it's mainly a redevelopment plan for the 355-85 corridor, where the Walmart is, extending down south on 85, including the industrial areas down Route 85. So this is a large area also. Both plans are anticipated to be adopted by the end of the calendar year in 2021. So that the planning department is busy on these 2 plans. But again, since I'm working on the Sugarloaf Plan, I would be happy to come back once the document is released. As you're very well aware, the plan goes to the Planning Commission for review, deliberation, for the Planning Commission to make a recommendation to our County Council. So during that process, even when the staff draft is released, during the Planning Commission's review, I'd be happy to present this plan to you and explain share the details and go into background and history and policy proposals and the overlay zone. So I'd be happy to do that at a future meeting with the Town Planning Commission.
Yes, that would be awesome, Tim.
Okay. So that's all I have, unless there are any other questions.
Okay, Tim, this is Bill Butts. We've posed this question to you for several years now, because many years ago, we understood there was a desire on the part of Frederick County Commissioners to rezone and to pave the way for significant redevelopment in the southeastern sector of Frederick County, which for the most part is adjacent to Mount Airy. That's been a concern that we shared with you for many years with both Carroll and Frederick County, because the proximity of increased development is a concern to us. And increasingly, we're seeing it coming from both Frederick and Carroll County. So I think our continuing request to you is to help us understand with a projection of timing and what that additional impact of development, be it residential, be it commercial, whatever, is going to be within the 21771 code, because that's the proximity, that's our larger retail trading area. That's going to have impact on the town of Mount Airy. So any additional details or projections that you might be able to share with us, and we understand it would simply be projections, that would really be appreciated.
Yeah, so yes, I can do that, sir. So, this presentation was dealing with current plans. So there have been no current plans submitted for that eastern part of the county. And I can review this at another meeting too. There's not a lot of area planned and zoned for more intense development right around your town, except for the area north of 70, south of 144. I refer to it as the day properties. I think they've changed hands over the years, but that has a office research industrial land use designation, but no zoning in the county, but that's on our long range plan. And then the other area north of your town is the property, we oftentimes refer to these larger farms from the farmstead, the family name, the Zeltman property.
Right.
That has a residential plan designation, but again, no zoning on that property. And then, farther south into the southeastern part of Frederick County, there's no area planned for major growth or development. A lot of that area, as you know, is already developed with large lot residential development and land use patterns. But those are the only two areas, adjacent to your borders that have, future possibility or potential for development.
Okay, so Tim, what I'm looking at in terms of realistically projecting impact on Mount Airy is New Market East.
Mm-hmm.
From New Market to Mount Airy.
Mm-hmm.
And the increasing development in that area, that impacts us.
Mm-hmm.
We become a major commercial retail, town draw for those households. We need to understand that.
Mm-hmm. And the, also, Mr. Butts, the areas east of the town of New Market, there's, besides a tiny little bit of land right around the 144-75 intersection, beyond that, there's nothing planned or zoned. It's not in a growth area. It's all agricultural and rural land uses. So, the area between New Market and Mount Airy, it's not planned for any large development at all. It's all in agricultural and rural land uses with zoning. And I can bring in some more maps if you want to zoom down closer in that corridor.
Tim, we appreciate that. I think it's just, we appreciate you helping us, have a look forward. So in terms of our planning and understanding for development of the county, we're knowledgeable. So thanks for that.
You're very welcome.
Okay.
Thank you, Tim. We appreciate you coming this evening.
You're very welcome, Madam Chair.
Any other questions before we move on? Okay. Next for introduction and discussion is the KFC Taco Bell building facelift. John, do you want to go over this for us, please? And then we'll have the owner and their representatives. Okay.
Sure, no worries. So this has been an ongoing thing with Taco Bell and KFC. They at one point came in to remove the KFC completely under one submission. We had kind of started going through it. It was set up to be for Planning Commission. They pulled the project. Then they came back in and they were going to do a complete redo of the outside and change a lot more of the exterior. That ended up getting pulled. I think this is the next step. It sort of stayed dormant for 6 months or so. And then this was submitted as just more of a repaint and a refresh of the exterior. And then they're redoing the interior, although that's really not something that we would see at the Planning Commission level. It's more of the exterior. And really, it's more of painting and signage. So it was presented to me as more of a sign application that they submitted to me. And, being that it was a drastic change to the outside, I wanted to bring it to Planning Commission to see what their thoughts were, if it would be okay for them to move forward the way it is, repainting and rebadging it to more of a clear separation between the two restaurants, where right now it's kind of a blend of one thing and another, where it was a KFC and then they kind of threw a Taco Bell in there because that's part of their business platform. They're owned by the same company, the Yum Company, I think it is. And again, so I just wanted to get guidance from you so I could guide the owners of the properties to see what the next step was. If you're comfortable with this, then it'll just move forward as a repaint, refresh, and interior renovations, which will go through all the permitting process and the design process, et cetera. So that's kind of where we're at. It's not a complete site plan as we have it today. If you're accepting of it and it moves forward, then it'll just move forward through the staff level process of the refresh. And then I can leave this to go to Brian or to Mike to talk on that.
Yes, Brian, do you or Mike have anything to say?
I don't really have anything to say up front. I mean, I'm more than happy to answer any questions if you guys have any. He pretty much nailed it on the head. This is a store that we worked on previously. Now, Taco Bell has a new image coming out, and KFC needs a new refresh. So therefore, there you go. It's the new Taco Bell colors as well as the KFC brand. Gives it a little more definitive look between the two. And we're leaving there's an existing stone and stuff in the building, so we're leaving that fresh so it doesn't get disturbed. It's just new paint, new signage on the exterior.
Okay, Tim, this is Bill Butts. How long has Taco Bell and KFC been at this location in Mount Airy?
Brian, that's for you.
I think he meant Brian.
I'm sorry, Brian. Yep.
I'm not sure how long this building has been there. Mike, would you have a better idea of how long this building's been there?
He's probably talking and hasn't unmuted himself.
Okay. Then I know this is Mitra's building. I'm not sure how long they have had this building in place.
Okay.
All right. So is this a national rebranding or regional rebranding that's going on?
Well, Mitra is the franchisee. They are the ones doing this refresh. The Yum brand is the main owner of both these restaurants. Taco Bell is doing a new revision of their look. KFC it's still pretty much the same look they've had with a few just tweaks. But this will be the new look for a KT, is what we call it. They're Kentucky Fried Chicken Taco Bell combined.
Okay.
From what I can get really quick, it looks like it might have been back in 87, 89, when this building was constructed. And I'm pretty sure it's been a KFC from the beginning.
Yeah, it has.
If I'm not mistaken.
I was just going to say, I've lived in Mount Airy close to 30 years, and it's been there.
30 years, yeah. 30 plus, yeah.
Yeah.
Time for a refresh.
Hey everyone, for what it's worth, Mike's unmuted, but that's also probably where that grumbling noise is coming.
I know. I wish. Can we mute him? So we don't
I tried
have that.
muting him. I was unable to mute him in my station.
Well, I thought you could mute him.
I can. I think Nina might have taken the host, so she might be able to mute him.
Okay, Nina, if you can mute Mike, that would be great. I had to take my earplugs out because I couldn't hear anything else.
You must have been in the air or something.
Yeah, thank you. Oh yeah, it's a lot better. Do any other commission members have any questions for Brian? I don't have a problem with this. Does any of the commissioners have a problem with it? No, we don't. I mean, okay, I see no one saying anything, jumping up and down. They want to say anything. So just go ahead with your rebrand.
Yep.
All right, Brian, Mike,
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you guys. Excellent.
Thank you for coming. Appreciate it. The next item 6 is introduction and discussions and possible approvals. The first one we'll go to is S-18-0031. It's in the Twin Arch Business Park, Section 4, Lot 8. It's the first amended final site plan, building number 2.
Yeah, I'll go over that real quick unless Ron, you want to go ahead and start your presentation related to the project?
Sure, thank you. This is the final site plan. It is a, trying to get to this, the existing building is out along the street frontage. They are proposing to construct a second building in the rear. It sits down lower than the street frontage, the first building for it. They're right now still in multiple locations and would like to consolidate their operation, microchip manufacturing, to Mount Airy. You may have noticed, many people may have noticed that the earthwork has primarily been done down here simply because there's been a lot of dirt that we've had to, throughout Twin Arch Business Park, get rid of rather than trucking it off. We did get an early grading permit through the county and the town. So nothing has really changed from when we initially proposed it back in the concept plan. Now, when you process stormwater management through the county, you generally have to reach about an 80% design level or more before you can get concept plan approval. And that's why there's really no changes or any real major changes to the site plan for it. So their stormwater management will consist of some microbial retention areas within the lower level.
Okay. Questions? Anyone have any questions?
So Ron, on the back side of this property, what are the elevation decreases from what already exists to the end of the property, and what will be the elevation and height of this additional proposed building?
I'm trying to get to it here. I gotta.
Looks like 31 feet or so.
Yeah.
31 and a half.
Looks like. Yeah.
And I know that the site plan doesn't propose any lighting at the rear of the building, correct, Ron?
Correct. And much of the building is lower than the surrounding embankment and back.
Okay, what's the height of any fencing that already exists?
There is no fencing along the back. We put a heavy landscaping screen between I guess really some residential properties in back. You can see the density of the landscaping to shield them from any development. And I think there. Somehow lost my regular plan view there.
Okay, John, do we have residential adjacency to this property in the back on the south side?
There are two properties. The property where you can see where I have the cursor is zoned industrial. Here, that's owned by Tim Dorsey.
Yep.
And it's up for sale as industrial land.
Right, that's the one that we changed the we changed the zoning of that.
Okay,
Correct.
okay,
So to your answer, Bill, there's no residential at the rear of this property.
all right.
And again, there is no, on the photometric plan, there's no proposed lighting at the rear of this property either, of this building. So there
Okay.
won't be any lighting at the rear of the building.
We're only proposing lighting in the front of the building mounted on the building itself.
Mhm. Okay,
And it is a depressed lot in relationship to the other, the other properties to the rear, to the south. It is a lower first floor or ground floor level in relationship to the adjacent properties. They're all zoned industrial.
About 8 feet.
okay. Well,
Let's
that was essentially my question, because obviously this space has not been developed up to now. And if you're bringing anything in, how is that going to impact, in terms of what's adjacent to it and, those properties? So hence the question.
Are there any other questions or comments from any of the commissioners? Are there any public comments? I don't see any. Okay, seeing none. This is pretty straightforward. I don't see any issues. Does someone want to make a motion, a recommendation? For a positive recommendation?
Roxanne, do you want to read my recommendation?
Yeah.
Yes.
So if you go to the last page of the staff report, the recommendation, the staff recommends conditional approval of the final site plan for the proposed MSB Services LLC, building number 2, located at the rear of Lot 8, the Twin Arch Business Park, located at 2505 Backacre Circle, Mount Airy, Maryland, 21771, subject to the following requirements. The approval of the proposed LEDs lights as shown on the proposed final site plan ensure that full cutoffs light fixtures are installed to minimize light pollution to all adjoining and neighboring parcels or properties. All town and county reviewing agencies' comments being addressed. All legal documents established prior to final construction, milers and paper prints being submitted, signed and sealed. A stormwater management easement for access and maintenance will need to be recorded prior to any building permit.
Okay, is there a motion to approve the staff's recommendation?
I would move to recommend the staff's recommendation, yes.
With the conditional.
Yes, yes, with the conditions as stated.
Awesome. Is there a second to this? Okay. Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we give approval, conditional approval to S18-0031. Staff recommends approval with the subject to the requirements that were stated. All those in favor, raise your hand, please.
Ron, can you stop sharing your screen? I can't see. All I see is Roxanne.
Yeah, I need to see everybody. Thank you, Ron. Okay. Awesome. Okay.
Roxanne, who seconded that? Was that Judy?
It was Scott.
Scott, okay. I couldn't see. All
Okay.
right. So that's the end with Ron then. We're moving on to
Moving on to
Chick-Fil-A.
S19.
Thank you, Ron.
Thank you.
Well, we have AP 20-0052 Ridgeville Business Center, Section 1, Lot 1, final amended plat of the town-owned property to be added to Chick-Fil-A. That's the small one-pager. Do you want to
Roxanne, what did you say? I didn't hear what you said, Roxanne. I'm sorry.
We're going on to the Chick-fil-A, the amended plat. AP
Sure.
20-0052.
Sure, and we do have a representative, two representatives from, well, do we have one now? I know we have two, from Chick-fil-A. Again, this is the amended plat to Ridgeville Business Center, Section 1, Lot 1. This was the adjoining property that was once thought to be owned by State Highway. Come to find out, it was actually town-owned property. You know, the town is working with Chick-fil-A for transfer of ownership. Once the approved site plan for the Chick-fil-A is approved, then we'll go through those final steps. But the big thing was this helped allow them to have additional drive-through stacking, which is critical for this site plan and approval. So I don't know if
We have the
and-
Chick-fil-A representatives here.
Yep, we have Andrew Stein and Brent Edmondson. So
Yeah,
Andrew, go ahead.
Yeah,
Andrew?
yeah. Good evening, John. Good evening, Madam Chair. Thank you for allowing us to present tonight. Certainly, we'll go in more detail with the Chick-fil-A. Would it be helpful to pull up the plat just to see what we're all talking about? I can do
Yes.
that.
Yep. If we can bring that up just a little bit when we're done with the
Yeah, that way the public
conversation.
can also see it.
Yep.
So again, so when we're done with that, can we just go ahead and get rid of it so we come back to a decision?
Yep. I'm trying. Hold it one sec. I had a number of things open, so needed to make sure I found the correct one. So I'll be brief here, and then get into the meat of our presentation to accompany the Chick-fil-A site plan. But but John, as you stated, and again for the record, reminder to the Planning Commission members as well as the public in attendance. The site that we're talking about is the existing Pizza Hut site at the corner of South Main and Ridgeside Drive. We were before before the Planning Commission for concept approval back in the end of April. I believe it was April 27th. And so, John, as you stated, essentially the area here along South Main Street, approximately 0.168 acres, owned by the town, is proposed to be added to the overall lot and purchased by Chick-fil-A from the town to basically create this amended plat and an overall site boundary. And then again, we'll show how the site plan fits into this proposed boundary. So from a plat standpoint, that's essentially it. Again, more to share and more to discuss when it comes to the site plan, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
I don't have any questions about this. This part of it is pretty cut and dry. Does anyone have any questions? Are you seeing any questions, Scott, John?
No, I don't see any questions in the chat. I don't see anything with the attendees.
Okay, John, would you please read your recommendation?
Sure. Staff recommends approval of the final. Andrew, can we go ahead and take that plan down, please? Stop sharing.
You got it.
And so the staff recommends approval of the final site plan, amended plat. I'm sorry, final amended plat of Ridgeville Business Center Lot 1A, AP 20-0052 with the following conditions of approval. All final town and county agency comments are addressed for this amended plat. The final approval of the site plan under review with the town S19-0036 Chick-fil-A from the town of Mount Airy's Planning Commission. So final approval from the Mount Airy Planning Commission. And the third and final one is the finalization of legal documents related to this and or the site development plan for S19-0036 and transfer of land.
Okay, do I hear a motion to accept the recommendation, the staff recommendation?
I'll make the motion to accept the staff recommendation as stated.
It's been moved. We accept the staff recommendation with its conditions as stated. Is there a second to this? Bill, second. So it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor of approval of AP-20-0052, please raise your hand. Those opposed, raise your hand. Okay, you have approval.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay,
All right,
now on to the the next.
Yeah, so Bill, this is when you'd want to comment about the amount of plans that were submitted for review. But this is the next item up is Chick-Fil-A S190036. This is the site development plan for the Chick-Fil-A located at the existing Pizza Hut location at 1705 Ridgeside Drive. It again is a zone commercial, community commercial CC. It is an existing water and sewer master plan. Again, as we've stated before in the concept plan, this was established back in '85, the final site plan for section 1, lot 1 of the Ridgeville Business Center. Excuse me. And the Pizza Hut was established in '86. Again, Chick-fil-A was approached the town about possibly seeing if they could get a Chick-fil-A to work on that site. We've been working with them now for, prior to the pandemic. There are a couple items related to this, which is, of course, the amended plat. There's also some off-site improvements to South Main and Ridgeside Drive that'll be occurring, as you'll see in your packets. You got, and Andrew might bring those plans up to sort of give us a refresh on that. But overall, I mean, the staff is recommending approval related to the site development plan under 5 conditions. And we'll wait to go through that after Andrew does a presentation.
Okay, Andrew, you want to go ahead and?
Sure. Yeah, so thank you, John, and Madam Chair, as well as the members of the commission. So again, we're here seeking approval of the site plan. Again, we were here for concept plan in April, and here seeking approval of the final site plan for the proposed Chick-fil-A at 1705 Ridgeside Drive. So, John, as you stated, as far as folks here tonight, obviously myself, Andrew Stein with Bowler, as well as Brent Edmiston with development manager with Chick-fil-A, and then Dan Haney, who works with me at Bowler. So, wanted to give Brent just a second, to say a few words, and then I will roll on with the rest of the presentation. So, Brent, if you wouldn't mind unmuting.
Sure. Thanks, Andrew. Good evening. I'm Brent Edmiston, Development Manager for Chick-fil-A, and just want to say a few words of appreciation to staff and review and attention to our application through the pandemic, through COVID. It was really just an effort to have a partnership and be part of the town. I just wanted to say that before we get started here today, and all the great work that staff has done partnering with Bowler and Chick-fil-A. So thank you.
Great. Thank you, Brent, for that.
Okay, Andrew.
Yep. All right. Let's hit it. So, as I said, existing Pizza Hut site, Ridgeside and South Main, existing condition, obviously an improved lot. We just discussed the additional property to be added along South Main Street. So, moving to discussing the site plan. I mean, not really too dissimilar to what you all have seen back in April. Not from a layout standpoint. Not a whole very minor parking lot modifications, but essentially the same number of spaces, 37 spaces, as well as the same number of stacking spaces, and in 32 stacking spaces. So essentially, customers would come off of Ridgeside Drive here. Access is in line with the McDonald's across the street, generally in the same location, as it exists today. Customers would turn right and either enter into the parking field or begin entering into the drive-through, which is isolated from the main parking field. Would come around to the order points over here. There will be 2 order points. So basically, it merges or expands out into a dual stacking lane. Again, 2 order points, and then merge back together. Come around and pick up food from the pickup window on the north side here, and then exit out onto Ridgeside Drive. From a, I guess, other site elements standpoint, we work with the town, but more particularly with the county in terms of stormwater approval, and have conditional stormwater approval for 2 facilities, a small diamond-shaped one here, as well as a little bit larger one along Route 27, and those would be essentially micro bioretention, planted boxes. Landscape, nice landscape proposed that's in keeping with the town code. Lighting wise, just want to flag, there is one condition in the staff report about cutoff fixtures related to the lighting along the Taco Bell and KFC. And so I guess, John, we had worked with you in terms of doing a lower lumen LED light fixture. Essentially, we've minimized to a very small amount, roughly 2/10 of a foot candle, spillage onto the adjacent site. And there are 3 existing lights on the KFC Taco Bell side, as well. But again, work to go with those lower light levels to essentially minimize, almost all but eliminate the light spillage over to the adjacent property. And this was shown previously, but from a signage standpoint, there's a monument type sign proposed that is 25. So taller, but still essentially a monument type sign, 25 feet in height. And we're also showing that there's a flagpole proposed on site that should have been also in your packet, but pointing that out, the sign will be located adjacent to the micro bioretention facility, and the flagpole adjacent to right about here, from the corner of the drive-through canopy. So pointing that out, there will be 2 canopies over each of the drive-through components. So one, the order point, and 2, the pickup window, which you have, that was part of your packet, and have some elevations to, which I can roll to quickly just to, show you what those would look like. But essentially, canopies to protect, customers as well as employees over the pickup window, as well as the order points. From a road improvement standpoint, John, as you alluded to, and happy to answer any questions or get into any more detail, the question standpoint, but work with staff to obtain approval of the traffic study. As part of that, there was mitigation discussed and required related to left turn movements onto South Main Street, and so we work with staff related to restriping and some concrete median type work in South Main Street that again was in your packets, and happy to answer any questions there.
Okay, so this is Bill. I've got a question because I haven't seen that detail. Could you summarize what the traffic study showed in terms of increased impact or volume? Because obviously I think we all understand that this is going to be a much more popular drive-in location. What does that mean in terms of extra traffic volume on that initial portion of South Main Street, because that's the entrance to our town?
Yeah. Sure. So from a traffic standpoint, from a, I guess what I would call, trips and how the cars are distributed through this intersection with the addition of the, Chick-fil-A, that essentially, continue to operate at acceptable levels of service. The concern or the item that needed to be mitigated was the timing related to cars stacking on Ridgeside Drive and looking to make a left onto South Main Street.
Okay.
And so in working with our traffic engineer with traffic group, as well as with Barney and, and the town's traffic engineer, one of the sort of suggestions as we coordinated was to prohibit left-hand turns out here by placing a concrete median along South Main Street, such that cars can no longer make a left-hand turn onto Ridgeside, and so would either need to, go to the north and around, or make a right and drive and drive around as well. Thus mitigating that extended queue. And in discussions with the town, my understanding is there is, and by the town I mean with staff, with Barney and John, there's discussions, and if I'm seeing minimal windows, so I don't know if Barney's on it, could hop in here in a second, but essentially, turning right, that there would be a proposal for potentially a future roundabout as you kind of proceed north and west of the site, so that cars could come back around. But that is my understanding is a future plan. So
Hey, Andrew.
Sure.
Can you, I'm going to stop sharing your screen and share a screen I have up.
Sure.
You can keep talking now.
There we go.
This might be better if you can understand, Bill. This will be a concrete median that'll be here. There'll be a designated turn lane here. There will be concrete, right, Andrew, that'll be going up here along where the center line is. That sort of splits the two lanes currently. So I think Bill's question is more of like the entrance to the town. There won't be any limitations of these two lanes coming into town at all.
Correct.
This will just be a designated sort of the two lanes going down to 27 and towards 70 or 27 north would still be having full access down to that, either to the light, which would be in here, or to the right on-ramp onto 27. So this is just becoming its own dedicated lane for a left-hand turn onto Ridgeside Drive. And the people that are coming out of McDonald's or out of Chick-fil-A will have to come up here, and they will only be able to make a right onto Main Street, which also eliminate that blind person that was turning left onto South Main and creating a potential hazard, which is, I almost got hit there when I first started working here.
Okay,
so this is a much better movement.
So John and Barney, as a result of the traffic studies and projections, what's the incremental volume that we might be looking at?
So you're saying how much more increased traffic onto Ridgeside?
Yep.
Well,
Yep. Either way. Yep.
I don't know if I have that number.
I don't, how can you determine how many people until it gets up and going? I mean, how many people are going to be coming that way?
Well, it is a concern, because if you see what happens in Frederick over by the Target, it's a little bit of a disaster. Kudos to Chick-fil-A for being so popular, but what happens is it spills out of the parking lot. It actually starts to back up onto the entrance into the shopping center, and it gridlocks the entrance into Target and Home Depot. It's kind of bad, and I don't, maybe we don't have that kind of traffic in Mount Airy, but if it comes to that, at least there will be a couple of days early on in its existence that will get that traffic, and it will pour out. And I hope we have an idea as to what's going to happen, because as soon as the drive-through lot backs up, it's going onto the street, and there's not much we can do about it. So I know that's kind of like a, maybe an infrequent problem, but it could happen on a Saturday. It could happen. It'll definitely happen the first week that it's there. And I don't know, there's not really anything we can do. It'll start to back up on the 27th.
Can I just ask, so when you're talking about, so if you're coming out, you won't be able to make a left turn out of Chick-fil-A. If you're coming out of McDonald's, you will only be able to make a left-hand turn. You won't be able to turn right, correct?
No.
Not exactly correct. You will be able to make a left out of the Chick-fil-A parking lot. You will be able to make a right out of the McDonald's parking lot. And if you did that, you would approach the intersection with South Main, and you would no longer be able to make a left towards 27. You would make a right onto South Main Street.
So has anyone talked to any of the other businesses? Because I think that like the 7-Eleven is a huge spot first thing in the morning. People go in there, get right out of there, turn right onto not that this is a barrier, but I just think that that's going to impact a lot of people, especially first thing in the morning coming out of 7-Eleven, out onto 70 in the morning.
Judy, to that question, that's a great question. But ultimately, it comes down to safety, right? So, this might be an inconvenience, but people will learn how to turn right out of 7-Eleven and go up to 144 and take a right. Now, it might not be as convenient, but it comes down to safety, and people will figure it out in the end. The flow, however it'll be. I mean, you can take a right or a left out of Chick-fil-A. You could take a right or a left out of McDonald's. You could take a right or left out of KFC. You can take a right or left out of 7-Eleven.
Yeah, you just can't.
People will figure it out. I mean,
if I was at the 7-Eleven, I'd take the left and go up the hill to that light and go back out onto 70 that way.
And ultimately, in the long run, hopefully we will get a circle at the top of the hill here. And that'll be something to allow people to get potentially quicker access. I'm not even sure if it would be much quicker. If I took and turned out of Chick-fil-A and turned right, went up to 144 and then down to 27, I don't know if it would have been any quicker to take a right, go up and go around the circle and come down to 27. But I think people will figure out the movement. I think this is the best case scenario we have currently for what's potentially coming. And to Scott's question, I was thinking about this earlier. If we had to, Chick-fil-A is very diligent about traffic control. I mean, if they have to, it might be in the interim, they might have to bring in their traffic and circle down. I know it's a one-way here down around towards where the lane is, but if they have to keep it off of Ridgeside Drive, is they might have to come in the parking lot and circle back to the entrance of the drive-through lane. I mean, we may have to, try to figure out some kind of an adjustment there if necessary. I'm not sure.
John, I appreciate you saying that. So, a couple of points based on what I've heard. So, one, John, appreciate you your feedback, and sorry you almost got into an accident there at the intersection. But just one point to make, that this has been an existing, obviously existing intersection and cause for concern based on this left prior to Chick-fil-A being there. Chick-fil-A is obviously adding some additional traffic trips to this intersection, and so this is basically Chick-fil-A's contribution to mitigating it. But part of that mitigation is really mitigating an existing a condition that is again that exists today. To the point about stacking, so we are showing 32 cars stacked up into the point of the start of the drive-through lane, and that's before you spill out into the parking lot. So I can tell you that Chick-fil-A is very conscientious, like you said, John, about ensuring a positive experience for their for the folks patroning their site, site and their store. And we'll certainly do their due diligence to be getting customers in and out as safely and quickly as possible. We had done some previous studies and looked at with our traffic consultant some of the other other sites within the area. I mean, typically those numbers, and I don't have them off the top of my head, but they're roughly in the 20 to 30 range from a stack standpoint. So again, just remind you, we're showing 32, and so there's the ability tip more than what is typically provided, and that's usually on stores that are a larger square footage too, roughly 5,000 square feet. This is a smaller offering in the 4,000 square foot range. And then lastly, there is some, if by off chance the extreme condition that there is some stacking in the parking lot, we have looked at the road configuration and striping such that right turn as you come off of South Main and make it right onto Ridgeside is roughly 20 or so feet of pavement, that lane width. And so should there again sort of be that spillage we don't anticipate, there is some width there that we also discussed that with staff, specifically Barney, as we updated the striping on the road there. So
Pam, did you want to say something, Councilman Reed?
Yeah, so looking at these road improvements doesn't overexcite me. I think making that left-hand turn onto South Main Street is very important for people kind of coming into town, getting their services, and then getting back out on 70. I think also, I don't know if it was Judy had mentioned, those businesses in there, like that 7-Eleven, a lot of their business is morning traffic. Residents, stopping in there to get their coffee and then conveniently leaving to get on 70 to go to their workplace. And this adds a whole level of inconvenience. And so I think there has to be another option to fix the traffic pattern. But I don't agree with what I'm seeing.
I do think that circle, if that was part of it, if that could be so that you could make a right out onto Main Street, go up, go around the circle and come right back on 70. I think that's a fair compromise, but I think going around the other way just is a lot to.
Have we considered putting a circle right in this intersection? Is not an option?
I don't think you can. I think that would cause more of a bottleneck than what they have said right here. I personally like this idea because the people that turn left out of there, they take off your sight. If you're turning right and waiting for the cars to come up South Main Street, you can't see past that car that's sitting there trying to turn left. I think it's a more dangerous situation now than it would be later. And I think that, I think this is the best. I like the circle up above, and we've kind of got that started. I think this is the best, in my opinion, it's the best solution. But
I would agree with you, Roxanne. I come off 70 all the time in the evenings and go through there, and driving a Miata where no one sees me on a good day anyway. I, hold my breath as I go past that to make sure that no one's going to cut out in front of me.
Exactly.
As I'm going. So
yeah.
I would agree.
John, how close are we, or Barney, to the circle at the top?
So one thing to add, if I may, a traffic light at that intersection or a circle at that intersection at Ridgeside and Main Street was not going to be supported by state highways. So they had already made that comment. So that's the reason why we're pushing it up the hill. We really would like to move forward with that circle in the very near future for that reason. And again, one of the problems is the distance between Ridgeside and Route 27. It's such a short distance that,
Mhm.
you know, trying to put some traffic control right at that intersection is going to be difficult. So pushing everybody up the hill, they can circle around, come back down. That's the ideal. Though
Mhm.
it wouldn't be right to have Chick-fil-A pay for, you know, such a large improvement. So they're paying a portion towards it.
Mhm.
But that's why we're where we are currently. But this is like phase one of a couple phase approach.
Mhm.
Barney, it's that proximity to 27 that actually concerns me. You're right. Like a traffic, a traffic device there is like boom, boom. Like you're going through one, you're hitting another within like 30 feet. But that 30 probably 50 feet. That short distance is what troubles me in that turn because people are already slowing around that turn, and if they turn around, if they go up that hill and they try to make a right turn and they see cars stacked, it's just gonna like back up. And I mean, I don't know. I will have to see. It is 32 cars as was pointed out is quite a bit of cars to get out of the lot. But once it starts stacking, those once it's out of the lot, those aren't just Chick-fil-A customers anymore. Those are people trying to go into the up the road and then they can't get past. That's kind of what happened to me in Frederick. I wasn't in line to get a meal. I was trying to go from the Home Depot over to the TJ Maxx, and in Frederick, and I was trying to drive along that road, and I couldn't go on the road because the Chick-fil-A flowed out of the lot and into that little side road that goes along the parking lot of Home Depot. So it was completely locked, and then no one could turn in because everybody was stopped. So I'm not saying Chick-fil-A is evil for that problem. I'm just saying it was pretty much a mess. And if that happens on 27 or South Main, we're gonna have a big problem.
I do have one question here. Someone has asked, what about stacking in the opposite direction? You'll have 5 fast food stores and a 7-Eleven all pulling traffic off of Route 70.
Yeah, if you're coming the opposite way, making a left from.
Well, I want to get some.
If you're making a left in there and you can't get into the parking lot, you're blocking the road.
Well, that's why I want to pose that question. Was that ever thought of, to flip the building and put so that it's stacked on the other side and came around? Andrew?
So I guess two things. One, a comment, and two, just also have Joe Collegero, who's joined the has been listening in and joined the call.
Okay.
He's our traffic engineering comment on stacking and some of the studies he did. So I mean, from a stacking standpoint, I mean, in placement of building as well as where the existing access point is, we look to maintain that existing access point across from McDonald's, and and with the placement of the building and the drive-through stacking circulating the site on 3 sides and essentially then wrapping a fourth as it comes to the pickup window. That layout allowed us to maximize stacking in the space provided, and again, John, to John Breeding's point earlier, I mean that the addition of that 0.17 acres allowed allowed for that additional stacking, but Joe could speak more specifically to the studies that he had done. I mean, and he's reviewed some of the sites you all are referring to.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Joe Pellegero with the traffic group. I jumped in through Andrew Stein. That's why my name is incorrect on the Zoom call.
That's okay.
So we're not twins or anything, but so just to recap a little bit, we did for the traffic study, we had to study 3 different Chick-fil-A's in the area. One was in Reisterstown, one in Eldersburg, and the other one was in Frederick. But that one, Scott, I think you had the experience in, but this one was Monocacy Boulevard at the new Walmart site at Frederick So all of these sites are more than 1,000 square feet larger than this site here in Mount Airy. And the maximum queue that we had of all three of these sites was 24 vehicles. So we were extremely comfortable with having 32 vehicles. And the real Andrew, correct me if I'm wrong, after the 32 vehicle stacking area, don't we have a little bit of extra space until it gets out towards Main Street? Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. There's probably another, roughly 100, 100 feet or so. It's probably an additional, five or so cars.
Right.
As you stack back and then, wrap around. So, I mean, essentially you're, up to, close to, 37 or so, still contained within the lot.
So on your typical day-to-day operations, I don't expect any traffic to back into Main Street. I'm sure Chick-fil-A would love to have, 50 vehicles stacked at a time waiting to process through their drive-through. But based on our studies, it does not seem realistic that will happen.
Thanks, Joe. Brent Edmiston with Chick-fil-A, if you don't mind, I'll add to that. This is a state-of-the-art drive-through that's been designed for the town of Mount Airy. Typically, if you look at our other Chick-fil-A's, you'd have a 25 to 30 car stack. We have 32 cars. We have an ability to get almost 40 car stack here, and all our movements are right turns. And so that's efficiency from a drive-through standpoint. And part of the reason we partner with the town in buying and purchasing the land that's along South Main Street is to be able to let us have this isolated drive-through and be able to also provide parking for our customers. And I can assure you this, our operator, if we have stack back on the Ridgeside Drive, our operator will not be doing his job because we'll be having customers too long in the stack. And hopefully all you can appreciate through the pandemic, what Chick-fil-A has done from an operational standpoint. I know we're not perfect, but we have gotten really good at serving customers through our drive-throughs with dining rooms closed. So
that was going to be my next question. How long does it take 32 cars to get through that stack from the time that they, pull into that to the time they pick up their food? Do you have an idea about how long that is?
Typically around 8 minutes
okay.
is the ideal timeline, and we try to serve our customers in a stack at 30 cars.
Okay.
The real good operators can do it more quickly. So and those are the ones that get more than one restaurant sometimes. So.
Okay. They get rewarded. Listen.
Hey, Roxanne.
Yes.
Roxanne. So I just want to give an example. I drove by KFC the other day, and it was close to dinner time, and I counted, they only had 12 vehicles within their drive-through, and they were coming off their parking lot.
Yeah, they were.
So again, that was all the way up to the drive-through window. That they weren't even at the order board. To the order board, they can only get, if they can get 8 cars in there, I'd be surprised before they're out onto the road. So you think about it, they're combining, they're multiplying that by 3 or more, right? Or whatever. They're just, I think the site is gonna, I hope, I'm sure on opening day in the first month or two, at lunchtime, it's going to get busy. Again, I think they're trying to really expand Mount Airy and to create a great use of that site that's sort of stagnant. But that's about it.
Yeah, I was going to say, so I've lived in Mount Airy basically all my life. Shoot, I can remember when the McDonald's came in and what a big deal that was and how terrible the traffic was then. And it's nothing. It was nothing like the traffic is now. I wish that you do have, there's going to be growing pains and people are going to be excited. And for the first couple of weeks, it's going to be a tear your hair out thing. But for what Chick-fil-A will give to the community, and I just think it's a great idea, and I'm in favor of the approval. But we need a motion to do that. So does anyone else have any questions? Seeing none, do I hear, do you want to read the recommendation John? You're on mute, John.
I was doing what you told me to do, to stay on mute. So again, recommendations. Staff recommends conditional approval of the final site plan for the proposed Chick-fil-A located at 1705 Ridgeside Drive, Mount Airy, Maryland, subject to the following recommendations. The approval of the proposed LED lights as shown on the proposed final site plan, ensure that all full cutoff lights featured fixtures are installed to minimize light pollution on all adjoining neighboring parcels or properties. Besides the one that Andrew spoke about, there is a little bit of bleed over towards the existing KFC, which is understood and allowed. Final site plan of the town approved parcel to be developed will occur once final site plan approval by the planning commission. That doesn't sound quite right, but anyway, I think that's related to the amended plat. Final site plan of the town final site plan is approved by planning commission. Okay, the consolidation of the additional parcel acreage and the existing lot 1 of Ridgeside Business Center subdivision as an amended plat, AP 20-0052. That would need to be approved by planning commission, which you've already done. Approval all legal documents, land transfers, offsite improvements related to the intersections of Ridgeside Drive and Maryland Route 808 South Main for the site development plan, and that all town and county reviewing agency comments being addressed prior to final construction mylars being signed and sealed.
Okay, thank you, John. There is someone who wants to make a comment. It's Gary Fry. I think you have to let him in, John. I told him he could speak after you did read the report. Okay.
I've allowed him to speak.
Okay, right, Gary.
Good evening. I just have a couple comments here, and I understand there's a desire for this business. I just want to express some concerns because I think this is not the right location for this business. First, I want to kind of take a look at those roadway improvements. As they are shown, they are not conducive for tractor trailers to get back to 70 safely. They have to make right-hand turns at either coming out at Ridgeside at Main Street and then turning right at the Richfield gas station, or they're coming out and turning right at the old Capital One Bank. There's not enough room for a 53-foot trailer to turn right at any of those intersections. If you look at the sidewalk coming off of Main Street, you can see the curb and the sidewalk are already crushed. So that's one. The other thing, a couple of the questions that were brought up, I've read through the traffic study that Barney had. The peak time, this business is expecting 100 people in an hour, 100 cars. They're expecting half of that to be already existing traffic coming from McDonald's, Green Turtle, all the other businesses on there. So that's half they're saying is new traffic, which I think it takes away, I think it makes the traffic study questionable values. The other thing I wanted to point out is the building that Chick-fil-A originally proposed, based on what I've heard through other public meetings, was a bigger restaurant. I recognize, I think Chick-fil-A knows their business. They knew that they were going to draw a big crowd. But in order to meet town code, they went with a smaller restaurant, which while these other restaurants only had 24 cars in the stack, this is a smaller restaurant. I don't think you can fit a whole tour bus of people in this restaurant. The other thing is the town code requires 44 parking spaces to meet code. We're talking about filling up the stack line with drive-through, so we're at a deficit of 7 cars on just parking spaces.
Gary, can I respond to that?
Certainly.
We are, for the stacking, we are part of the staff report and what was approved at the concept plan level is that we are allowing 8 cars as parking spaces within the drive-through, especially considering the current pandemic. I mean, the parking lot's going to probably be empty and there's going to be more people going through the drive-through because in some places the restaurant inside is closed. again,
I will-
can I please finish, Gary?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Again, in the staff report, we are allowing for 8 spaces within the drive-through lane. And as I did bring up the drawing that shows the actual movement of the tractor trailer on site. And that's a 53-foot trailer, I think is what was slated for that. And I think the movement of tractor trailer, any tractor trailer driver will take the opportunity to make sure he's not, a good tractor trailer driver won't be hitting the curb or hitting light post or whatever, because ultimately they're doing damage to their vehicle. So I don't think that is the biggest, the traffic, tractor trailer traffic, I don't think is a big concern. I think the on-site parking, again, we did, it doesn't meet town code, but it was approved at the concept plan level to accommodate the 8 parking spaces within the drive-through lane.
So a couple of things. One, you're expecting through travelers, right? People, families, Chick-fil-A draws, people with campers, boats, trailers. They're not going to know. They're going to follow the signs to 27. So they may not be an experienced professional driver, but I think this plan sets them up for failure. I'm disappointed that at the back and forth over the concept plan approval, even though it didn't meet town code. So I wanted to make sure like these things were thought about and discussed, because like I said, I recognize that this is a good business. I think there's been a lot of effort to be jamming this thing into this property where it's not going to be the right answer.
Well, it's up to the developer where they want to put their business, and they have
Absolutely.
decided to put their business there. So we have to adjust to what there is. And frankly, most tractor trailer drivers now do not come in that way. They go up and around because it's so hard to get in that way. There's way too much traffic.
I will say, I live close to the area. I will say that I've seen tractors, trailers throughout the entire day make those right-hand turns successfully. So I don't think that part is a concern.
All right, Gary, thank you for your questions and your
Yes,
concerns.
we do. Thank you.
We have another person that has their hand raised as well, so I'm going to.
Okay, go ahead.
And Sue has the floor.
Okay, so you need to unmute yourself. If you don't know how to, if you're on a phone, you have to, what does she have to do, Jean? I can't remember. She's not unmuted.
And I don't have the abilities to unmute her.
She has to unmute herself.
I think it's *9, is that right?
Yes, if you're on a phone, it's *9. There you go.
Well, it was unmute. Now it's... All right.
She should be, no, now she's muted again.
All right, well, let's move on. I can't unmute her. If she can't unmute herself, I don't know what to say. I sent her a thing to ask her to unmute herself.
Okay. Let's, we have had the recommendations, the staff recommendations with the requirements read. Is there a motion to accept this, these recommendations as read?
Madam Chair, I would so move to accept.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded that we accept the staff recommendations for conditional approval of final site plan for the proposed Chick-fil-A with subject to the requirements, the 5 requirements as read. All those in favor, would you please raise your hand? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Unanimous.
It's unanimous. Motion carries. We have approval of the final site plan for the Chick-fil-A.
All right, Andrew, Brent, thank you for your time.
Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
Thank you all. Have a great night.
You
too.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on. We have the discussion and possible Recommendations for resolution 2020-43. That's the joint annexation of Harrison Lizier property. It says here, Tom, that you're going to do a presentation.
I don't think that's correct. Surprise, Tom.
Another one, you're becoming real popular.
Well, that is my bad. I didn't catch that, so I do apologize.
Okay, that's all right. That's okay.
So I can make a revised agenda to put in the file if necessary.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. No worries. Okay, so we did have, I thought, a very good discussion at our workshop. I think we got a lot of questions answered. I also had some other questions actually that were answered today. But let's start with any other questions or anything that any of the commissioners have at this point.
Okay, so Roxanne, I understand that it was not a recommendation from the Carroll County Planning Commission to the commissioners to approve the zoning change for the property.
Parcel 20.
Yeah, that's adjacent to Harrison Lizier. Their meeting comes up on, is it Thursday night, the 29th?
Yeah, she told us, yes. It's
29th at 6 p.m., I think.
6 p.m.
6 p.m. Okay.
And again, both I and Mayor Pat are registered to talk about the project if necessary. And Hannah is back on the item here. Did you have something to say, Hannah?
It starts at 7 on Thursday, not 6.
Thank you.
I thought the sign said 6 o'clock.
It's 7 p.m. to 9 p.m.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
And Hannah, what is the date of the workshop again?
I believe November 24th. That'll be in the morning.
Got it.
And that is also listed on carrollrezoning.org.
And again, this is at 7 o'clock, 7 to 9 is an open forum with the commissioners of Carroll County. So the Planning Commission of Carroll County did give a non-favorable recommendation to the commissioners of Carroll County, who will be discussing it and potentially making either accepting their recommendation or going with their own path. So we'll see how that goes, and I'm sure I'll see you then, Hannah. Will you be there present during that meeting?
Yes, sir. I'll be there.
Alrighty. Well, I will be too.
Sounds good.
Yep.
Cool.
Okay, so after our workshop, you kind of go home and review everything. And I know that there were a lot of things we were discussing, but really the first thing we're tasked with is either giving a favorable or an unfavorable recommendation back to the council about this resolution. Once we have whatever is going to happen, let's say it does, they do approve it, or it does become favorable, it does get annexed in, then our job starts with the site plan, because we have no idea what they're going to put on the plan. And we can't really, it's kind of hard right now for them to tell us what they're going to put on the plan. So I don't think we need a workshop with IDA, because this is a joint resolution. Actually, the county and the town are bringing it to us. I checked with Tom, and he's on here. I am going to the town council meeting in November and ask for an extension, because November is our last meeting for the year. And I know that we have 120 days. I want to ask for the extension just in case we decide that we can't make a vote in November. I think that we have done our due diligence in the fact that we have had, this is the third meeting now about Harrison Lizier, the fourth counting the workshop, although we didn't accept comments. I think we've done our due diligence and allowed the public enough time to make comments that they have made. I did talk to Tom today about the water issue on Jack's Court and Butler Road. He has not gotten the wording from their attorney, but they have assured us that they are going to put wording into the resolution about consequences if the wells went dry. I also discussed with Tom how we could do this. I'm not saying we're going to make the vote tonight. We can approve this and give conditions that we want added, or we can give an unfavorable approval and say the reasons why we did that. I'll ask, but are the other commission members ready to make a decision, or is there still discussions, things, questions that you have?
Okay, Roxanne, this is Bill. I continue to believe it's in the town's interest to control what happens with this parcel with Harrison LaShear. We spent a lot of time carefully discussing and working out a rezoning situation that we felt was supportive and responsive to the town and was in the best interest of the town. And yes, because of the pandemic and because of some of the pullback in commercial development, there may be some timing issues. And maybe that means that, we may need to give some additional latitude into how the property is developed. But I continue to believe it's in the town's best interest in terms of all the benefits and all the opportunity that's presented by this and the ability of the town to control how it's developed for our town's benefit and surrounding residents, for us to go ahead and approve this annexation. Having said that, I still would like to have a little bit more understanding of what might be the options in terms of the specifics of the development zoning and the latitude that we apply there and the time that we give ourselves to let things settle out. Hopefully the pandemic is going to have a particular duration, and we'll better understand how the commercial markets and development markets will respond to it and what that means for our community. But I continue to believe it's in our best interest to annex this property and to do it appropriately.
Any other discussion by any of the other commission members? Judy? Do you feel at this point that you are ready to make a vote?
Yeah.
Yeah. How many feel we can vote on this tonight? Okay. So as stated, we can do one of two things. We can approve the resolution with conditions, or we can give it a favorable recommendation with conditions, or we can give it unfavorable and explain the reasons why. Am I saying that right, Tom? Okay. Thank you.
Roxanne, I just have a quick question about the conditions.
Sure.
We don't know exactly what they are as of yet. Like, we haven't gotten a list together of what our conditions will be, because we legally figure some things out. Is that correct?
If we would do this vote tonight, the conditions that we would put on it would be the only conditions that would be on it.
Oh, okay.
What conditions are you talking about? Like the types
wells and, protecting I don't know if protecting is the right word, but if what happens if the wells run dry, or if there's, the citizens along Butler Road, if they want privacy, that sort of thing. Do we say you must?
Okay, so the privacy issue comes up in the site plan. We first have to get through the annexation. They have assured us, IDA has assured us, their representation has assured us that they are putting together some wording for protection. Okay. And that condition, we would say, we just need to physically see that.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Are there any other any other things anyone else wants to say?
Hey, Roxanne, I do have,
Okay.
an attendee did raise their hand. Do you
Okay.
want to,
Yes.
okay, I'm gonna allow them to talk. It's Steve Trice. Stephen Trice.
Okay, we've heard Mr. Trice. Is he saying anything different?
I guess we'll see.
Okay.
I did give him the ability to talk, but I don't see him coming on.
There he
Here
He is on and he is unmuted.
He has 3 minutes.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, you have, you have 3 minutes.
So
Trice.
2 questions. I have spoken before. I won't belabor it. But are one of the conditions the swapping of the property, swapping of the land? I didn't hear that spelled out. So one of the things that I understand was asked of the IDA was, is it possible to swap the parkland and the development? So I'd like to know if that's one of the conditions.
John, do you want to answer that? We talked about that at the workshop.
Yeah, I mean, again, the swapping of that land is probably not conducive to their development plan, just as looking at a planner looking at the parcel. There's a lot of wetlands, et cetera, where the park is currently sort of slated for, and the development of an industrial park or a employment campus at that location is probably not economically feasible. Just my gut feeling. And again, the creating a buffer between Bottler Road and the employment campus or this annexated parcel would possibly be something that could be looked at during the site plan process. Again, there is a minimum 50-foot buffer between industrial and residential outside, residential, be it in the county or in the town. So there's that minimum buffer. But again, swapping that land, I don't think that's ever been brought in front of them, and I don't think that's part of the actual annexation agreement currently.
John, I think that they did say, IDA said they were going to go back and evaluate that. So I'd be interested to see what they came back with, because the annexation, if I recall, it's not sitting right in front of me, actually states that what they identified where the campus was going to go, the employment campus was going to be on Lot A, and that so it's identified in that. And Tom, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it is identified in the annexation document, what is going to be used for where.
Correct. Just a couple comments. Just remember that your vote tonight is a recommendation of the town council, so you might vote to recommend that the town council impose conditions. This body isn't imposing conditions. Yes, the annexation agreement does parse out, which is which, the parkland, as opposed to parcel A, as we call it in agreements. And the agreement says they're currently drafted. The proposal is that they would be, that parcel A would get the office park zoning designation. The difference there, again, is that parcel A is not getting an automatic water allocation. It has to, if and when it gets developed later, years later, will have to actually apply for and obtain water from the town in accordance with the town's ordinances.
And again, I did bring up the annexation map that was part of our PowerPoint, and that helped show. So the parcel A that you talked about, Judy, is actually the one that backs up to Jack's Court. So this is actually parcel A, is my understanding, correct?
Yep.
Oh, I'm sorry, I meant parcel, the one that says OPE zone. That's I think,
OP and Parkland. Yeah.
Yeah, this is the OPE and this is the parkland.
yeah,
But this is parcel A that you're talking about, which is 40 acres, which is 10 to 15 to 20 years down the road, ultimately, that would even be coming in as a, once this is all built out and approved through all the different site plan processes, then this would be something they'd be looking to develop.
I'm
And
sorry, I misspoke. I think what Steve
okay.
was talking about is that IDA was looking at switching the OPE and the parkland as a potential, and that we were waiting to hear back. I understand that you looked at it and don't think that it's going to work, but I'm just wondering what feedback from IDA was on that. And I think that's what Steve was.
That was it. Am I still audible? Or-
Yes.
You are.
That was exactly my question.
Yeah.
It's an 85-acre piece of land. I've looked at it. It's down a hill.
Right.
That's where if this were, push come to shove, if I have to make Sophie's choice, then obviously that's the one that we would prefer the development to go on, because it's not bordered by homes, not even by the Jack's Court.
Right.
Obviously we've been pushing for no annexation, but that's what we want if push comes to shove. And that's what I thought that the mayor and Mr. Boucher, and I don't know who exactly, the lawyers, et cetera, talked a couple of weeks ago and was put in front of them. And the mayor's even been, publicly stated in the newspaper that he would favor no development behind the homes. And I understand he doesn't have a vote, but, we're not alone in this. So that's what I wanted to ask. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
You're welcome. I have some other questions that are coming from Simone Blanchard. She says, I have a couple questions if Hannah's still on, but the questions relate to Harrison Lacier. So she says, if a representative of IDA is present, I would like to know which business parks in Carroll County are operating on well and septic and when they were built. They have mentioned at previous meetings that they have developed large-scale business parks on well and septic in the past. And then her other one was, I'd also like to understand the process for the 5-year waiver. Should the annexation go through, is this an administrative process to waive the 5-year waiver, or does it go through Carroll County Planning and Zoning with public hearings as part of the process? Please also share the link to where this process is outlined on the county website. Do we have an IDA representative here?
We did, but now I don't see anybody.
Okay, Tom, can you answer the question about the 5-year?
I think Hannah would be better at telling us the internal processes of the county to get there. But what the state statute says is that the county commissioners can vote to vote a waiver to allow upon annexation the change in zoning. If a waiver were not obtained, and for the first 5 years after annexation, the municipality in question would not have zoning power over that property. But again, the exception is unless the commissioners vote to provide a waiver. It's my understanding that that waiver will occur, but that's all I know at this point.
Okay, Hannah, you were shaking your head. Is there anything else you can offer for us on that?
No, Mr. McCarron pretty much hit it right on the head. They Board of County Commissioners only approves the zoning waiver, and if they do allow the zoning waiver, then the annexation goes ahead as planned. And if they deny the zoning waiver, then the municipality cannot rezone the parcel for 5 years.
Okay.
And as for the the county planning department role in the annexation, we just give the annexation petition out to different agencies with the county to see if they have any comments and recommendations. And then we give a presentation to our county planning commission for their recommendation. And then we gather all of those comments and recommendations and give those to the county commissioners. And they use that to decide on the zoning waiver and their recommendations as well.
Thank you.
And that's all on the county website. I saw she was asking about where she could find that.
CarrollCounty.gov or?
Yes, it's on the planning department's website under, I think it's rezonings and annexations.
Okay, thank you. So I'm sorry, Simone, we can't answer the question with the IDA because it seems that the representative is no longer on the call.
Yeah, I don't see them on the panelist list.
Okay, they were here. I don't know what happened.
They were. I saw
Some
Frank
people
here.
were having connectivity issues. I hope we got those straight. So we have a motion, right? No, we don't have a motion yet. So we're to the point where, okay, you're welcome, Simone. We have a point here now where the commissioners have decided that they would like to make a decision. So, yes, Judy.
Do we know what all the conditions are that we want to put forth, though? I mean, I think people, part of the motion, I think we should be pretty clear on what all those different things are. And I don't think that I have those. I didn't know that that's where we were going to go tonight. So I don't have all of them from the top of my head.
Okay, so from Tom, we can say with conditions, we can't specify the conditions? Is that what you said earlier?
No, so my recommendation would be and you can, the chair can proceed as she desires. My recommendation would be that you hold an initial vote of favorable, unfavorable. And then from there, you can develop your conditions, whatever conditions you're going to recommend, and vote on those, in a second vote. That would probably be the easiest way of addressing this. But again, that's up to the Madam Chair.
But what if the conditions are something that would deter whether or not you would vote favorably? So, hesitant to vote favorable if there was if some of my concerns were, and I couldn't tell you right off the top of my head, but I'd be concerned about that.
But at the end, you would vote favorable with all the conditions, and if you don't like the conditions, then you wouldn't vote favorable, right? So you would, I guess Tom was just saying to get like a pulse on whether or not we can move forward with even considering favorability with conditions, and then talk about the conditions. But in the end, if you don't like the conditions and the favorable recommendation,
right,
you vote against.
Can you pull it back?
So does that, I think that kind of changes things a little bit because, does everybody have in their mind what conditions they would put in there? I said, Judy, you said you didn't have them together. So that kind of changes a little bit. I would suggest we pull back and do the vote in November when we know what conditions we want to put in there. Or can we vote tonight favorable and put the conditions in the next night? We can't do that.
I don't know. I don't know if we'll ever come to a list of a comprehensive list of conditions, and perhaps maybe that's the council can they're going to have their own conditions and recommendations as it gets up there. So, I do think that the wells are important, but that'll be a recommendation, right? The council will decide whether or not the town wants to protect the wells or not. I think that is a good one to put in there. I don't know what else. We can't put a condition in that you swap the parcel A for parcel C. Like we can't put that in there. So, what other conditions are there too? I know there probably are a lot, but there's plenty of time to think about what they are when it's getting voted on, like for full annexation. We're making a recommendation with certain conditions. We could propose those conditions after at a meeting when the council's voting on it. So, I'm saying not proposing it from the planning commission, but propose it from citizen recommendations of a condition, as would the people who live close by would ask that certain conditions be included. So I think we have, I feel like the group has enough to decide whether it wants to move forward. And I for one would like to see the condition put in there about the wells. I don't know how to word that without, you know, Tom's legalese injected into there, into those statements. But in short, I would like to see that the wells be protected, and if they were compromised, that, you know, the town show some, I guess, you know, compensation.
I have a question, Roxanne, I'm sorry. Sure. To Tom, actually. So Tom, so if we vote tonight and we make it favorable or non-favorable, could we come back then in November with our suggestions to the town council? In November is what it was. Well, it wouldn't be conditions, more suggestions, because we can't, as a body, I don't think, make conditions.
On it.
We can make suggestions, or, you know, we think if we're gonna give it a favorable recommendation with these suggestions of making sure we're going. I'm not sure the proper step.
Yeah. So there's.
I'm sorry, Tom. Go ahead.
That's okay. So there's not a lot of law here that tells us how this can or should go in terms of whether you can sort of have your vote on favorable versus unfavorable today, and then a month from now, you know, vote on some sort of recommendation. I think that you could do that, and here's why. There's nothing preventing the Planning Commission from 3 months from now, if you voted to put together a letter and say to the town council, look, you're batting this thing around. Here's some additional input that we'd like you to consider. It's just advice. I mean, it's a recommendation at the end of the day. And I think that you as a body can provide advice on a host of issues at any time you like.
Cool.
So that's my sense of it. And I don't think there's any law that says that's wrong.
Okay.
We know that the buffers are a concern if the property parcels don't swap or anything. So, you know, we can make a, you know, we can suggest that there be consideration given to the well, you know, compromising of the wells, potential compromising of the wells, of current wells, and the buffer zone between the properties. So
I agree.
I think those two
For sure.
requests for consideration
For sure.
would be solid.
I agree with the buffers, but we say in that zone already that the buffer is minimum 50 feet. We can add any buffer we want to when we're going through the site plan as well.
With a legitimate reason. It can't be arbitrary and capricious.
Right.
Right. It would be
Gotta
for
have a reason.
safety and protection. Right.
Understood, but it wasn't that we were saying that it had to be. It was that we were making a recommendation that the town focus on considering the residents' request for an increased buffer. Like that's right. I mean, we're trying to work with everybody here. So the council will decide whether increased buffers are appropriate or you know, fit the code, and you know, whether the town wants to pay for fixing wells. But we're making a recommendation. Those are 2 points that I think that are important to me as we listen to the residents that, you know, border the property.
Great. Okay. All righty. I'm sorry. I just had someone kind of comment, so let me I'll read this comment. At the last IDA meeting, I guess she means through Chambers made a motion to establish a smaller group of IDA members to discuss the Mount Airy planning and zoning concerns, including well protection, swapping of a business park with the parkland, and increased buffers. I'm not sure what meeting she's talking about.
Referring to the last IDA meeting, and I did hear that sort of a smaller group was. I'm not sure they formed it or said who's going to be on the group.
Okay.
IDA itself, rather than the whole IDA working on this, I think they're gonna have like 2 people or something like that
Okay.
interfere with the town on this.
Some of the people are also concerned about why we're hurrying to get this vote in. We've talked that we have 120 days. I just asked the members if they felt at this time they were prepared to make a vote. They all feel that they are. So at this point in time, with what we have been charged with, which is just the resolution, there's much more to come down the pike than the resolution. I would entertain, yes, members of if IDA wanted a smaller group to go over this, that would be fantastic. But we're just working the resolution now. And remember, this still has to go to a public hearing, and there's this is just step 1. So we're trying to put our toes in the water and initiate what else needs to happen.
Ultimately, the town council will be making the final decision on the annexation. So we're just trying to get the ball into their court so they can set the public hearing dates and then have public comment at that point.
Right, and we can always, at the public hearing, we can always voice what we want to see in there.
Our suggestions or recommendations could be in a form letter presented to all the town council members.
Right. So at this point in time, I'm going to ask, it's not a formal vote, but we do have to be, if everyone is in favor of giving a favorable recommendation of the resolution back to the town council, would you please raise your hand? 1, 2, 3. Those that are,
4.
John, you don't vote.
5.
5. I'm sorry.
4, 5.
I'm sorry. 1, 2. Put your hands down. We do things sometimes. Okay. Those in favor, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Those opposed? 2. The decision carries. We will send to the council at their, will this go at their November meeting or December meeting, Tom?
Probably not. The agenda has already been set? Okay. No, it'll be in December.
Okay, so we will send to them a favorable recommendation for the resolution of annexation.
And that'll give us time also, I'm sorry, Tom, that'll give us time to get our comments or suggestions together at the November meeting, hopefully. So, and again, it doesn't sound like it's a lot of suggestions or recommendations, ultimately.
Yeah, and I might suggest that in November, I think John has to put together a draft annexation plan. That plan is really a comment piece. It's the document that goes along with the other documents, the main document that goes to the county and state for comment. And I think John was planning on having that finished up come November. So maybe it'd be appropriate for you all to look at that, comment on that at that time.
And Tom, I am working on that currently. I was working on that today and last week. So I'll try to get that to you, hopefully the first week in November for your review before I print it up for the Planning Commission.
Thanks.
Yep.
Okay.
All right.
The next is the future items. So John, I'll let you take this.
Yep, no worries. So yeah, some of the future items that are coming up would be AP 200047, which is Twin Arts Business Center. This is a consolidation of 6 parcels that are down along Twin Arts Road, kind of on the backside of Backacre Circle, the industrial park. It is zoned industrial. The proposed site development plan of that lot, those lots currently, is 2 separate buildings of, I think it's I think 3 units per building. So a total of 6 business type units located right there along Twin Arch Road. So we have currently have the amended plat in, consolidating all the lots, the 6 lots that are there. A portion of that was lot 13 off of Backacre Circle that got amended down, separated or subdivided off of where M&M Welding was going in initially. The next one is S20-0020 Twin Arts Business Park, Section 4, Lot 15. This is a change of use of a remaining of, so it's a pretty, it's Doc Fool's property. It's all those buildings and barns and his old brick house that's back there. We're going through that site plan of, they're going to increase the, a little bit of, we're going to recap the existing paving. And the applicant that's going to be going in there is actually J&J Trash. So they, of course, did lot 17, I think it was initially. And, you know, I think as they were going through that plan, they're moving their main headquarters to here. And the 15 acres that are kind of back there really fits their business design a lot better. So they're, you know, they won't be developing, I think they're developing 17 and then they're still taking on 15 as well. So that'll be a nice change there. We also have a Board of Appeals case that came in, a request for a in-home daycare. So that'll be presented to you to be forwarded to the Board of Appeals with a favorable or non-favorable recommendation. So I have to get that staff report finished up.
Okay.
Remember. And then it's back to you, Roxanne.
Okay, before we go, I just, our next meeting is November 30th, 2020. That will be our last meeting of the year. We will not meet again until the end of January. So I'd like to wish everyone, the public that's listening, as well as my commission members, happy holidays, be safe, and what you do in the next couple of months. And I hope to see you around town.
Also, I want to say, don't forget to vote.
Oh, and John
voted today.
Vote. John voted today.
I voted today at the South Carroll Swim Club for early voting this whole week. I went there around 8 o'clock this morning, and there was maybe 25 or 30 people in line. When I came out after voting, there was nobody in line at 8:30. So
that is, if you want to do early voting, that is the place. It's either there or Westminster Senior Center. And I think they're open from 7
to 8 p.m. 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. And when I drove by Westminster's Senior Center first, there was about 100+ people waiting in line.
Awesome. Seeing any other comments? Any other comments? Okay. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
I so move.
It's been moved. Is there a second? It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, we adjourn the meeting. All those in favor, raise your hand.
Aye.
Okay, there we go. Motion
Thank you very much.
adjourned. Stay safe, everyone. See you next
Happy
month.
Thanksgiving.
Cool.
Have a good day.
Stay safe.